Hello everyone! Today we're going to talk about the Rutherford's model. When talking about the Rutherford's model, we have to take into account the two main parts, which include the nucleus, as well as the atom's remaining space, which is occupied by electrons. Now, the nucleus is a very small portion of the general volume that an atom has, and it does occupy a really small space in the very center of the atom. Protons and neutrons do make up the nucleus, and they do define the atom's chemical properties as well. And electrons are revolving around the nucleus in their own set orbits. This is just like the movement of planets around the sun. This is a diagram of the Rutherford's model where we have the nucleus and its own protons and neutrons, and we can clearly see that it is positioned in the very center of the atom. And we also have the electrons, which are shown as blue dots, and with gray lines we have their own set paths or orbits being shown. Now, in order to determine this model, Rutherford had to go and make an experiment about that. And this is called the Rutherford's gold foil experiment, where alpha particles were fired at a gold foil piece. And most of these particles passed directly through the foil. That means that the majority of the space in each atom was unoccupied. So the nucleus occupied a really small volume or area. And then we had all the other volume being left unoccupied. Now, a few particles in the experiment were deflected, and really few of them did even go backwards. And the cause for this was the existence of tiny pockets of positive charge in the foil repelling the alpha particles back, which were clearly the protons in the nucleus. Now, this model was accepted at the time it was invented, but we clearly know that after other models were invented and after other discoveries were made, this was not completely true, and it had its own flaws and shortcomings. The first one is that it missed lots of parts, and it did not consider the location or the distribution of electrons, their own movement, or the way they went around the nucleus. The second point is that electrons do not orbit around the nucleus in set or specified paths, and this was set or determined based on the Maxwell's theory. And if we were to accept this model just as it was from Rutherford, then we would have an unstable atom where electrons would lose energy more and more until they would fall in the nucleus. And the third point is that this model does not account for the initial energy as well as the subsequent energy level changes. So since we have the electronic wave and we have the energy that each electron has, not taking into account the initial and the subsequent energies and their own changes would be something that would change the whole way that we study the atoms and their own influence. This was all for today. Thank you for your attention.